Hey everyone. Okay, so right out of the gate, we get the explanation for how Shanks got separated from Shamrock when they were babies, which is simply Saint Mafi, one of the Royal Knights, was an oblivious idiot. When she shot down Dragon, both twins went flying out of his arms, but only one was in plain view for Mafi to see. And this is one of those times where you thank fucking God for World Noble stupidity on top of just the chaotic goings on with God Valley, because while we know the course of Shanks' life beyond this point, in retrospect, yeah, that one mistake might have saved his life, because considering how cold-blooded Garling is, I honestly wouldn't have put it past him that if Garling had managed to get his hands on both Shamrock and Shanks, that he would have very well forced both twins in order to fight to the death over their inheritance. Like I genuinely believe Garling is one of those people to have done something like that, to have done something like that if Shanks hadn't ended up in the circumstances he did. And yes, it is kind of funny that Shanks' life got saved by in a sense that Shanks' life got saved by two people who would later in life become the Four Emperors as well, like a title he himself would lay claim to as well. Like it's interesting how even before like they became the Four Emperors, you can see how they're kind of how their lives were still kind of intertwined in a way. Now, as far as the question of how Shanks ended up in the treasure chest and that Roger found, I think just the course of events at this point are pretty clear cut at this point. Like Dragon probably locks Shanks away in a treasure chest in a fit of desperation to protect him, and then Roger discovers it. Although speaking of Dragon himself, it feels like we are kind of reaching that breaking point where father and son need to have a conversation. And with the rate things are going, I'm definitely betting on it happening much sooner rather than later. Like definitely before the curtain closes on this whole incident. Like both, I think if there's anything God Valley proves to me is that this whole clusterfuck of an incident was basically the point that basically changed Dragon's perspective completely and made him into the man he was today. So it's like this is likely also the point where they end up as a where they put him where Garp and Roger end up going, or sorry, Garp and Dragon end up going separate ways as well. Like this just feels like that kind of needs to happen here as well at this point. Now, in saying that, yeah, let's talk about that ending, because I was half joking, but everyone pick up the phone, because we all called it. Rayleigh beat Roger to the punch with saving Shakky, and for as hilarious as it is seeing Roger and Gabon's reactions, it is interesting to see that Rayleigh, even back then, did deeply care for Shakky, despite the bravado he put on to pretend he didn't. Like, it's it Rayleigh himself, he generally did in some form or fashion, but basically love Shakky. It's not like with Luffy and Hancock, where Luffy's like, I love you as a friend kind of thing. No, Rayleigh did have genuine feelings for her, and man oh man, seeing Rayleigh sword smack Summers through a wall was the most cathartic experience I've had reading One Piece. Not just because of him trying to act like a big man, not just because of Summers trying to act like a big man on campus around Hancock and attempt to show her who's in charge, and that this is what man, and that she should just be obedient like a good slave and whatnot. Like, but also it's not just that for me. It's also just that given present timeline events, like for me, this is one of those chapters that proves that Emu might be the ultimate evil of this world, but I still consider Sommer's actions to be much more reprehensible. Like, man is just a straight up, no holds barred, no remorse in any way piece of shit, both in past and present tense. So seeing him get knocked the fuck out by Rayleigh, yeah, that felt so good to see. Like, and I'm hoping in the present that happens to the man as well. Like, it happens to the man as well, full stop. Like, I think it's already happened to him in a way, but it needs to happen to him more. Now, one of the big questions for me with this chapter is what exactly is the inciting incident that eventually leads to Garp and Roger teaming up, because so far, while there's a lot going on and everything's being thrown into complete chaos on God Valley, we haven't yet seen Makaza's Rocks to go on the rampage he does. At least not yet, because knowing his goal on God Valley, I'd wager a bet the death of his wife is going to have something to do with it. And even I know that part's obvious, but I guess to elaborate on it, I think the thing that's gonna make him go ballistic, push Rocks completely over the edge, and just go full on monster is seeing his wife probably get shot by a celestial dragon, something to that effect. And just I think the failure to protect her is what'll push him over the edge, and eventually lead to the scenario of Roger and Garp teaming up out of necessity to stop Rocks. Now within that, it would make most sense. It would at least make most sense given the pieces on the board. Now, within that as well, it does beg the question: where exactly does Blackbeard fit into all? Where does Teach, aka Blackbeard, fit into all this? Because we obviously because the one thing I will say that hasn't been addressed yet is how exactly Teach managed to escape all this even as a child. Like, that's the one thing I'm kind of most curious about. And as an aside, though, I do like how smoothly Oda managed to interconnect the stuff with Kuma and Angoff into the background of everything going on, and seeing how these events all line up. Like, it's a small detail, but it is interesting to see how the cogs of all this work in a way. Speaking of Garp, though, yeah, man continued his rampage in this chapter, and that one panel of him walking out of Prometheus's fire, like, that shit made him look like a god's honest demon. And I thought I saw it all when it came to Garp aura farming in this series, but that one image, I think, is scarier than he's ever been before. And while I'm sure that there will be people who look down on this as a negative, I do find it a little hilarious seeing Big Mom, Kaido, and Whitebeard, these big massive these pirates who are massive threats in the world, who would come to be known as Three of the Four Emperors. Like, seeing them running away from Garp is just kind of hilarious to me. Again, I know people are gonna pick stuff like that apart and say it kind of ruins their image, but for me, it is scenes like that which do a lot to humanize the legend of these people, even if comedy is used to do it. Like, I feel it's kind of necessary in order to rip the veil off these legends and show that yes, they might be all powerful, but they're still human underneath it all too. So yeah, in that regard, I don't see as much of a problem with it as maybe some others will. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on Blue Sky, Analyst Crunchyroll, Bitch and Rickish Bell, subscribe button, and just share it around, guys. Dark Knight signing off. Later, everyone.